Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Roboto, back again with another quick trade video. So today's topic, we're going to talk about how to spot potential setups with good risk to reward. And then when you do spot that setup, in this case it was a breakout, how to trade and manage that actual breakout. All right, so let's dive right in. The trade I'm going to be talking about is mRNA calls this morning. I posted this on Twitter right around 8:45 this morning. I was watching this mRNA pennant for a break and then a move up to 329. All right, so what did I see in this move? Well, obviously this is the actual action that happened today, but ignoring that, what I saw this morning was that, mRNA had been trading in this pennant. It's making higher highs. It's basing, if you've been following mRNA, it's had this big downward move. It found support down here, and now it's slowly walking its price back up, and like I said, forming higher lows during this entire time. So that's a couple things that I'm looking for, right? It's basing over this key level down here. And then the other thing, I want to make sure there's a clear breakout level that I can identify, right? For me, it was this prior high, yesterday's prior high. If you look at this, this was 315.94. So let's round that out. 316 now is going to be my breakout level. And I always like to add a little bit of padding in there. In this case, I made 316.15 my actual key breakout level. This helps me prevents me from being faked out a little bit. Because sometimes you'll see price just tap 316, 316.05 and then just, get sold back down. So I always like to, add a little bit of padding to my key breakout level. Some people like to do this. Some people like to be very precise, 315.94. I don't mind being a little bit later to the move if it increases my potential of actually catching a successful breakout and not getting faked out. So again, basing over key levels, these higher lows forming. The other thing I look for is that the volume is, going in a direction that is favorable to the trade that I'm looking to do, right? So if we look at this, a couple things that I saw was, if we look at the big picture here on selling, the sell volume has been decreasing, on mRNA. So that's a good sign to me, right? This is actually what we ended up doing today. But so if you're looking at the sell volume from here, it's going in this direction, right? So this is telling me selling is slowing. There's a potential now for the buyers to come in here and pick up the pace and start bringing this thing up to the upside. All right. The last thing that I like to look for is I want to see clear basing over a prior supply or resistance point, right? And that's exactly what we saw on mRNA this morning in pre-market. So if you look at the pre-market action on mRNA, all right, let's zoom in a little bit closer here. You can see the price actually had this little tiny gap up in pre-market, and it was holding this key level right here. And as you can see, this was, this is the prior resistance right here. You can actually, make a supply zone right here, right? Let's go ahead and make this a supply zone. But you can see that mRNA was actually holding this up in pre-market, right? If it was down here, right, and it wasn't, testing the highs of yesterday in pre-market, I'd be less likely to look at this as a breakout. If the price action was holding right around here, I'd be looking more for a dip buy and then potentially back up to this trend line. I wouldn't be looking for a breakout, right? So the fact that the price action was holding, the upper range of this trend line, right? That is when I start looking at things and considering a potential breakout, right? Doesn't mean you still can't get faked out right here, but obviously you don't want to be looking to play the breakout when the price is right in the middle of this pennant, for example. That's just less likely to be successful, you know, especially if the price has so much further to go before actually reaching your key breakout level. So that's something to think about. So when I did see mRNA holding this upper trend line and basing above this previous resistance, this elevated it into my watch list this morning. All right, so, and then the last thing that I always want to ensure when I'm trading these breakouts is I want to make sure that the reward is actually worth playing this ticker, right? So I look for a supply and potential price targets that are going to make my risk to reward ratio very favorable, right? So for example, if I traded mRNA and, you know, let's say this was my stop, okay? Say this was my stop, right? I'm potentially risking, if I play this breakout level, right? I'm potentially risking this. On the worst case scenario, this is what I'm risking, right? But look at the potential gain here, right? So this was the supply zone that I had identified on mRNA. These were, you know, nice price targets that I could target. So this was my reward on mRNA. So immediately you can see this is at least a 1-to-1 trade, right? I don't think my stop would actually have been this low. So actually improving my risk to reward on this trade. You know, if I zoom in here, let's go ahead and put extended hours back on, right? So my stop actually would not have been this low. It would have been around this pre-market level, right? I don't, if it would have went below this, let's make this so it's not so annoyingly bright. So this was my stop on mRNA, right? If it got to below this right here, I'm out of the trade, right? But look at my risk to reward potential here if it just makes it to this 1 hour supply. Obviously we didn't make it there, but you know, even if it just gets to my price targets, it's at least a 1-to-1 trade. It's a 1 to 1.5 trade, and then if it does get up to this supply, then this is at least a 3-to-1 trade, right? So really good risk to reward. And so again, that's why it was elevated onto my watch list, and that's why I tweeted out to, you know, on Twitter and my followers to watch this potentially. All right. So that's the criteria that I used to analyze mRNA and why it made it to my watch list this morning. Let's see how I actually managed this trade, because this wasn't a very clear and straightforward breakout, right? So let's look at the 5-minute. Okay. So on the 5-minute, when it broke through this, I went ahead and bought some contracts. I didn't buy heavy at all because you know, a lot of breakouts, there's a lot of fake outs, and then a lot of breakouts will just keep running, but a lot of times they will pull back to this key breakout level or below it, and that's where I actually like to get a full position. Well, so I got filled right around here. And then, you know, right about here, I started sensing some weakness in mRNA, and I went ahead and sold. I sold everything there. As you can see, this was the actual commentary. I took mRNA breakout. This is at 9:31. I was telling my private Discord, don't chase it. 9:32, I was all out for about 11%, right? So I'll rather do that than see the price go down against me. And then if it goes down against me right here, I'll be down 20 or 30%, right? So I bought the breakout and I sold very quickly within a minute for 11% gains. And then what I started looking at was, you know, I started really monitoring the volume and comparing it to previous days on mRNA. And once I saw that the volume looked pretty good, like there was a good sizable buyers in mRNA this morning, that's when I said, I'm starting to bid into mRNA 320 calls, and I was going to have a tight stop. 311.90 was my actual stop loss. So if we go to here, 311.90 was my mental stop on this, right? Again, right below this this pre-market level that mRNA was basing above. So I know if mRNA breaks below this level that it was holding in pre-market, then the trade's done. Like I cut my position and I'm out, right? But as long as it's holding above this, I'm still looking to play this for the breakout, especially when the volume that I saw for the day looked pretty good, right? So if you go to the 15-minute volume, let's put 5 days on here. You can see, right? This volume was right in line with the previous breakout day that we had, right? Here's this 15-minute volume, and the mRNA was also putting decent 15-minute volume today, this morning. Okay, so I felt like there was still some meat left on this move, and then so I started bidding in, and I actually got bids filled both here on this red candle, and then again on the way back up, right below my breakout level. And then the price shot up really quickly. And that's when I started scaling out. It hit my first price target. I started scaling out right here. And then I held a little bit more. And then I sold some at my next price target. It dipped down to here, and I was all out at this point, right around here. Okay. I walked through this live on my Discord, on the intraday commentary, you know, bidding into mRNA, 320 calls, tight stop. Here's my stop loss. I got filled. I'm out half, about 8%, like right around here. And then, you know, 15-minute volume came in. There was a big push, and then I'm out some more for around 20%. And then I held a little bit longer for this move right here, and then I was out most of it at that point. So yeah, again, a really good base hit for me. You know, scalped it for 20% plus on a couple of these moves, on top of the original scalp that I played in the right at open for 11%. And that's essentially how I managed this breakout. You know, I took my initial gains, so I was able to buy back in at the bottom and have a good average and not be so stressed out because I'd be down 20 or 30% on my initial position. And then I rode it back up, and I followed my plan with my price targets. I had a 30-minute supply, price target 1. I had another 30-minute supply, and this was my price target 2, right? Of course, I could have always held a little bit longer to see if we were going to get touch this 1 hour supply, but you know, with the market context today, I didn't see the need to hold any longer, you know, and being up as much as I was within 20 or 30 minutes of the day, I felt like that was a really good win, and I was very happy with the trade. All right, so that's it. Very small video, how I traded the mRNA breakout, how I identified it, and then how I actually managed the trade. Yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Again, my Twitter handle is Mr. Roboto Trades. And if you're looking to get commentary like this, and if you're looking to get, you know, a pre-market plan and potential setups that I'm looking at in the morning, I'll be opening up my private Discord for more members in the future. Just DM me on Twitter to get on the wait list. And once the spots open up, I'll let everyone know. Thanks.